Adjunct Professor Moran, Macroeconomics 111. We're reviewing the aggregate demand model notes we discussed in the prior video. Why is the aggregate demand curve downward sloping? According to the aggregate demand curve, what is the relationship between price level and real output? Aggregate demand is a negative relationship, the slope here would be negative, between price level and real output. There are three reasons that aggregate demand has a negative relationship with real output: the interest rate effect, the wealth effect, also known as the real balance effect, and the net export effect. The interest rate effect indicates that as price level rises, you need more money to buy the same amount, to buy a certain amount of output. So if you need more money to buy your market basket of goods, you may increase the demand for money. We're going to assume that the quantity of money is fixed, but that the demand for money has increased, because people will borrow money to maintain their purchasing power in the face of the lower ability of an inflated dollar to buy output. That increase in the demand for money will cause interest rates to rise, and then consumers will buy less durable goods, and businesses will buy less capital goods, construction, and inventory, because the demand for IG was assumed to be a negative relationship with interest rates. But an increase in price level, a decrease in price level, means that your dollar can buy more output. And so, given the quantity of money is fixed, there'll be less need for loans. The demand for money will fall. Interest rates will fall. And then aggregate demand, the quantity of aggregate demand purchased will increase as C increases, as people borrow more money at lower interest rates to buy durable goods, and IG increases to buy more capital equipment. So high interest rate, high price level will lead to higher interest rates in this model, unless the Federal Reserve or something else is happening. But nothing said interest rates will move the same way as price level does in this model. High price levels will lead to high interest rates because there'll be a higher demand for money, because of the eroded purchasing power of the dollar, and a lower interest rate will prevail with a lower price level because the demand for money falls. The third reason, and the next reason, that aggregate demand has a negative relationship between real output and price level is called the real balance effect. If you take all the money you have in your account, savings, checking, at a low price level, those amounts will buy a high amount of output. But if you take that same dollar amount, nominal, unadjusted for inflation, and try to buy output at a higher price level, your real purchasing power is less. So the amount of real output you could buy at a high price level will be less than the amount of real output you could buy at a lower price level. The real balance effect. How much can you really buy given your financial condition, your account balances at different price levels? The net export effect indicates that at a high price level, you'll substitute away and buy foreign goods, which are a negative to our GDP and XN. But at a low price level, you'll substitute away from foreign goods and buy more domestically made goods, which is included in GDP. Foreigners may buy more of our output at a lower price level. We may sell them less at a higher price level, the net export effect. Three reasons an aggregate demand curve has a negative relationship between price level and real output. Notice that when we talk about an individual demand curve, we're not talking about an aggregate demand curve. For example, if the price of beef goes up and people buy more pork, there's really no change in total output or purchasing. They're just substituting from individual items, but both items are included in aggregate demand. So don't get the reasons a demand curve, an individual demand curve slopes down, which is the principle of diminishing marginal utility, the substitution income effect, confused with why an aggregate demand curve slows down, which is the net interest rate effect, the real balance effect, and the net export effect.